You don't turn your back on family, even when they do.
We know the Fast and Furious franchise is, well, fast and furious. But how do they pull off some of those high-octane scenes we all know and love? We'll talk about which movie moment came with a $25 million price tag and which stars were hired without having their driver's licenses. Plus, would one deleted scene have led us to getting more Hobbs and Shaw?
That's what it takes. I just want to race.
Vin Diesel is such an essential part of the Fast and Furious franchise that it's hard to believe he wasn't the studio's first choice to play Dominic Toretto. That's right, the Dom we all know and love was nearly played by Santa Clarita Diet star Timothy Olyphant. Apparently, the studio agreed to greenlight the project if Olyphant was on board, but Vin Diesel managed to convince producer Neil Moritz to give him the role instead. Although Diesel fought for the part, he originally wanted to be one and done and turned down the chance to appear in Too Fast, Too Furious. He wanted the first movie to be a standalone film, comparing it to the classic Rebel Without a Cause, and claims he said no to a $25 million potential paycheck.
That's the deal. Take it or leave it.
So what made him return for Tokyo Drift? Diesel wanted a follow-up to the Chronicles of Riddick, and Universal promised him the rights to the character in exchange for a Tokyo Drift cameo. Having Diesel back on the big screen, albeit temporarily, renewed interest in the franchise, and Diesel got to make the Riddick movie he wanted. Paul Walker almost made a similar call regarding the fourth film, because he wasn't confident in the longevity of the franchise at that point. Recording a feature film is a tremendous undertaking, even more so when it's packed full of crazy, over-the-top stunts involving fast cars. Operating a motor vehicle is one thing, but doing so at breakneck speed is quite another, especially when cameras need to be ready to capture every last twist and turn. Getting it just right was such an issue that stunt director Mick Rogers ended up creating what's now known as the Mick Rig. Basically, it's a half-van, half-flatbed truck that the car is mounted on. Because the car is kept so low to the ground, it looks pretty realistic, and the van can do almost anything a car can on its own. It was a game changer, not just for the franchise, but for plenty of other films as well. Vin Diesel had to talk his way into the part of Dominic Toretto, but Gal Gadot almost talked herself out of a job when she showed up to one particular audition. Before she landed the role of Giselle Yashar, she was a dancing hopeful who dreamed of being a choreographer someday. But after some coaxing from her agent, she auditioned for Quantum of Solace and told the casting director that she wasn't an actress and couldn't speak English very well. Even though she didn't make it as a Bond girl, the casting director kept her in mind, which ultimately got her the gig in the Fast and Furious franchise. This led her to being seen by director Zack Snyder, who personally invited her to audition for the role of Wonder Woman. Even though Gadot was less than qualified at first, she made it a point to perform as many of her own stunts as possible.
By myself, no stunt woman.
She wasn't the only star who had to prepare for her role. Michelle Rodriguez, Jordana Brewster, and Devon Aoki didn't even have their driver's licenses when they joined the franchise. Needless to say, they had to get qualified before getting behind the wheel. Tragedy struck during the production of Furious 7 when Paul Walker sadly passed away. The cast and crew mourns the loss of their friend and were also faced with the practical decision regarding what to do about the film. According to writer and executive producer Chris Morgan, they collaborated as a group to decide how to move forward. They unanimously decided that Walker would have wanted them to finish the movie, even if the ending would have to be changed due to his absence. Vin Diesel was devastated by the loss, but was proud of the send-off the team gave to Walker and his character. At the end of the movie, his character retired along with Mia and their son Jack after enjoying one final ride with his best friend Dom. Diesel admits he was broken by the loss. He thinks Brian's final ride might be the best moment in cinematic history. Paul Walker is an irreplaceable actor, but his involvement with the franchise inspired Vin Diesel to hire John Cena for F9. Diesel believes Walker helped send Cena to him just in time to start filming, and is convinced his late friend would have been thrilled by how far the films have come. Paul Walker and Vin Diesel grew close during their work on the franchise, but there were plenty of other bromances behind the scenes. Dwayne Johnson admits that he and Jason Statham got close while working on Hobbs and Shaw, much to the dismay of his pal Kevin Hart. There was a lot of improv going on behind the scenes of this Fast and Furious spin-off. Johnson was able to improvise most of its insults he slung at Statham's character, calling on his past as a pro wrestler to get the trash talking just right. Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds came up with the idea of including Game of Thrones references, but did the camaraderie on set go too far? We all know Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson didn't exactly see eye to eye behind the scenes, to put it mildly, and this could have caused us to miss out on a scene in The Fate of the Furious. According to The Wrap, a scene featuring Luke Hobbs and Deckard Shaw engaging in some grade A banter was cut because Diesel didn't want them showing off on set. Can we take a moment to appreciate all the incredible performers who helped pull off all the stunts in the Fast and Furious franchise? We even saw one of them on screen during the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, even though many of us may not have recognized him. The fisherman is actually Japanese racing legend Keiichi Tsuchiya, who's known for his love of drifting and worked as a stunt coordinator on the film. Not only did he get to have a cameo in front of the camera, but he also spent some time in the driver's seat. We saw Tsuchiya making fun of Sean Boswell, but he also performed many of the scenes in which Sean learns how to drift, as well as some as the Drift King. In The Fate of the Furious, there were no stunt performers needed when Dom Toretto shared a kiss with the insidious villain Cypher. Vin Diesel couldn't stop talking about the scene in the lead up to the film's release, and seems confident actress Charlize Theron loved this on-screen interaction. But Theron fired back, calling him insane. She disagreed with his interpretation of their lip lock and accused Diesel of not getting into the moment, leaving her to act as the aggressor. Apparently, Diesel felt insulted by Theron's side of the story and insisted that he's not a dead fish. He insists that anyone watching The Fate of the Furious can see that he put his all into making this little bit of movie magic happen. There are tons of talented people working on the Fast and Furious franchise, but where would they be without all those many vehicles? As you can imagine, the life of a Fast and Furious car isn't usually very long, and they go through a ton of different cars in each movie. In the first film, they destroyed 78 cars, and in the second film, they upped it to 130. The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift cost the franchise 249 cars, but the fourth movie was much more conservative, 190. Fast 5, however, took 260. Fast and Furious 6 used a whopping 350 cars, and it took 230 vehicles to make Furious 7. You have to break a few eggs to make an omelet, and apparently you have to total a few cars to make a Fast and Furious film. And yes, in Furious 7, they really did drop cars out of a plane. When the vehicles fell, they did so alongside skydiving cameramen. These were fully functioning vehicles we saw free falling through the sky. Or at least, they were functional before the fall. If you've ever struggled driving through snow, you can probably imagine what a nightmare it was to film the big ice chase scene in The Fate of the Furious. Even by the sky-high standards of the franchise, seeing Dom jumping over a nuclear submarine to dodge a heat-seeking missile is absolute insanity. So it's no surprise it was a nightmare to pull off behind the scenes. In the movie, the scene takes place in Russia, but it was filmed on Lake Møvaten in Iceland. It had to be filmed while the ice was completely frozen, which meant winter in Iceland and pulling it off before the script was even completed. They used Zambonis to clear the snow off the ice, and pyrotechnics were used to simulate the ice cracking. The team also hid explosives under the ice, dragged cars around, and then detonated the devices right on schedule. Poor Tyrese Gibson struggled to see and had to use hand signals to communicate with the crew while he was behind the wheel. Some Some scenes in the franchise are more difficult to capture than others, but the train heist from Fast 5 definitely put a huge dent in the movie budget. Director Justin Lin really wanted to raise the stakes and heighten the action, so instead of sticking to purchasing cars, he also splurged on an actual train. The train heist sequence cost an incredible $25 million, including the price of 600 yards of train tracks to stretch out across Arizona. And of course, even though it cost a pretty penny, the train was totally destroyed during the process. It's even more impressive when you realize the entire budget of the movie was $125 million. 1/5 of that was on this single scene. At first, the studio rejected this line item on the budget proposal outright, but Lin managed to convince them using some persuasive storyboarding and computer simulations. What do you think about how the franchise has progressed so far? And what are you hoping to see more of in F9? Share your thoughts and predictions with us and your fellow fans in the comments section below. Don't forget to click subscribe for more great videos from us here at Screen Rant. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you next time.